Hello, everybody. Tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with cinema in China. And I guess one of the initial things that kind of surprised me is that while we think there's a lot of movies going on in the United States, there's actually even more going on in Japan, China, Nigeria, and India. I've been looking into what's been going on in India. Not so much in Africa, but I'm definitely going to be taking a look at that. But tonight I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in China and basically the Far East in general. I would say that I was overall very impressed with what I discovered. It's definitely worth the time to go through and see what's going on. I think reading about it was definitely very different than actually seeing some of the trailers and the movies themselves. So I wanted to kind of go through and just essentially show some of the trailers to some of these movies and just kind of give a different perspective maybe. So you'll notice that a couple things that aren't totally obvious is that actually quite a number of these top films, both in the United States and in China, but particularly in China, are just in the last few years. So in even this past year. So these are the top, 50 or so films in China. But actually a lot of them happened just in the last 5 years. And I was really surprised, just as I studied this a little bit more. There's a lot of things on the internet talking about censorship in China and different things like that. But as you'll see in some of these films here, there's quite a big difference and gap between, at least from my knowledge of what was going on in the Far East compared to the actual films. So I'm going to just jump in right with this first film, and it's called No More Bets. And it's subtitled in Indonesian here on YouTube for some reason. But I just wanted to show kind of the trailer and just jump through this a little bit. But you can see basically a little bit about it. Yeah, so I'm going to have to fast forward this quite far into this film, but I already kind of went through it a little bit and just kind of checked what was going on here. But basically, this film here, No More Bets, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a crime story, and I was kind of surprised to hear that China was doing kind of a crime story, but it's kind of a reverse crime story. In some senses, it's about a bunch of Chinese citizens being trafficked overseas, particularly in places like Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand, and basically doing, basically some internet fraud. So it's kind of an internet fraud movie. Let me pause this for a second and see if I can find the actual trailer for this. Okay, super sorry for that.
想成功，先发疯。第一次富三代，拼命才能不失败。开工。
炒股、挖币、网游、电商、博彩，美女荷官在线发牌。我想让他赢，他就赢；我想让他输，他就输。跟我聊啊。
Let's go. Who gon' try me? Who said that they got me? We can't take over, ain't no if, there's a problem.
好照片。
We break all the rules, we're the defiant.
老板，要不要走？
We won't lose.
不要走啊！我要自由。
你他妈离开这儿你就自由了啊！
Promise we won't lose. Let's go. We won't lose.
别走了，一块赚钱吧。
So just a couple comments about this film. You know, it was kind of surprising. If you know a little bit about China and Southeast Asia, Macau, you notice quite a number of gambling scenes in there. And actually, you know, the Communist Party is not very pro capitalism. So this is kind of a pretty cool film because it's kind of anti-capitalist a little bit. Or a lot bit, and kind of looking at exploitation of kind of people with technology skills and technology background. What I was particularly also interested in is trying to figure out work and trying to think about how to potentially produce a film in Asia. And you'll see on the right side here, it shows all the different people involved in producing the film. This one actually is a little bit different than maybe some of the other ones, but in general, there's a lot of major film producers in China that maybe you haven't even heard of, and it would be worth your time to kind of like look through them and see. So this next one kind of really surprised me. The top film is actually about Korea and really the Korean War. At first, I was like really glad that at least they were covering the topic of Korea, and you can see it came out in 2021, which is pretty recently. And I guess the cool thing about this film is that basically it's really bringing what happened in the Korean War, particularly from the biased American perspective. I mean, Americans went to Korea, and we essentially there's a separation between North Korea and South Korea now. North Korea is totally different than South Korea, and basically the Chinese, it's kind of the Chinese perspective on this. I wasn't super happy with the video footage. It's very computer graphics animation, but if you read through this, it's kind of a boring plot, but the cinematography in the actual film does it quite a lot better, so you can kind of see. Let me see if I can find where that is. Sorry about this. I put them kind of in a different order than what they came up as, but hold on a second here. Aha, look at that. Came right up. So basically there's actually it's kind of confusing because there's a couple films that are all kind of the same genre. And I was kind of unhappy with that because there's quite a number of these that are kind of like war films. You'll see a Wolf Warrior, Battle of Lake, and there's actually two versions of it. There's the second one and the first one, and both of them were pretty big hits in China. And you can see they came out almost 1 year after each other. But I'll actually just show the second one really quick, and we can kind of go through. I thought the ending was particularly interesting here. You can kind of see, I'll just go back right to the ending here. Yeah, so sorry about that. It's a little bit difficult showing all these things, but basically, you know, it's kind of like a war film, so many of these are actually war films, which I was a little bit unhappy with. And then the big surprises really were on the ones that weren't war related. So there's just a couple of them in here. I'll just kind of show you this one. This is called Detective Chinatown 3, and it's basically part of 3 different series on it.
有杀气！其人印堂天真，奸能残，眼看胸下气枪乱，唇白耳短，面目黑，绝对正宗杀人犯。
傻逼，这什么面目？
一等凶完，